All right, thank you so much. So without further ado, we've got a very special guest here, John Walsh. He is the founder and owner of Walsh Senior Solutions. He serves as the senior move manager, and he was inspired to start this company after he helped his own parents successfully downsize, declutter, and move, not just once, but twice within a 15-month period. And so Walsh Senior Solutions was formed out of that. They're providing space planning, sorting and decluttering, packing and moving, unpacking, settling in, storage solutions, clear out, prep for sale, all of the things in the New Jersey area. They've served over 1,400 families in the past 5 years, including some of our own clients as well. So John, very happy to have you and to join us today to talk about what people need to be thinking of as they look to that next stage of their downsizing journey. So John, welcome to our webinar here.
Thank you very much. Really appreciate the opportunity to speak to you all. We'll go through some slides in a moment, but certainly thank you to Justin and David from Personal Wealth Strategies. You guys have been great to work with, you and your team, and it's been a pleasure to help a number of your clients. We'll get started. I've got some PowerPoint slides, and we'll do the share screen.
Yep. So if you pull those up, and then also if you've got questions along the way, there's a Q&A chat feature. So you'll be able to ask your questions within there. I'll be kind of monitoring that, and then I will see if I will interrupt if it's on topic or maybe save them to the end. But we will let John do his thing.
Thanks. We'll go through some slides. It's really an overview of kind of my story, an overview of our company, but really giving an educational seminar to people who, regardless of your age, are going through the process of decluttering and moving. That can be going to a bigger home, to a same size home, to a smaller home, and downsizing. This might be helpful for not only yourselves, but maybe your parents, grandparents, whoever it might be. But I'll give you an overview of our services, talk about what a move manager is. It's certainly a niche role, but certainly a very valuable one in the journey of moving and decluttering, combination of a number of different kind of industries and jobs, and then how we efficiently and profitably help clients to declutter and or downsize. We'll talk about the 10 steps of the downsizing process, and then we'll also highlight some local solutions and resources that might be helpful to you along the way. As Justin said, I launched this business in April of 2018, so we just celebrated 5 years. We've helped about 1,400 families now during that 5-year process. I grew up in the Princeton, New Jersey area and helped my parents downsize twice in a 15-month period. It was unfortunately, my mom has Alzheimer's and my dad has Parkinson's, and through their health issues, helped them downsize twice. They were living in a home of 20 years that I moved into when I was like in late high school. Had too many stairs for them, had a basement storage area, had a basement crawl space. When I helped and became power of attorney for my parents and helped become their financial trustee and now handle all their finances, I saw like this credit card charged for Princeton self-storage, the storage unit by the Princeton airport on 206. And I was like, what is this for? And looking into it, I realized that they also had a storage unit there as well. And we'll talk about storage in a moment, but where the reason I launched this is because the process of helping my own parents and my sister being involved as well was very emotional, very traumatic. It was very chaotic as well. And through that experience, I was like, there's got to be a better way to do this. This can't be such a struggle for every family to go through with every move that they do. So I realized that I was dealing with about 8 to 12 different companies, moving companies, 1-800-GOT-JUNK, professional organizers, estate sale companies, auction houses, consignment stores, and that's just for the contents of the house, and then obviously realtors and attorneys and accountants, financial advisors. But working with all those companies was a lot to manage. And I was living in New York City at the time. I was working in financial services in the insurance industry, and working for Marsh McLennan and Aon. And I was like, there's got to be a better way to do this. And my sister was at Hospital of UPenn as a nurse practitioner down in Philadelphia. And we were both about an hour away from Princeton, which isn't a lot, but it was also a lot of time for my sister and I as the adult children that we had to carve out and from our families and careers and to help our parents. So where one of the values that we bring is really kind of to be the boots on the ground for the family, and helping them locally, working on their wishes and really kind of providing a lot of the labor and resources to help them along the way. So we're a comprehensive solution for a lot of those companies that I mentioned, all under one umbrella as a one-stop shop. So we help with decluttering. We're also a traditional moving company that helps with packing and moving and unpacking. But then we also help with the home staging, getting homes decluttered and staged and looking presentable and as sparse as possible before the real estate photos. We also help with selling and donation and junk removal. And then in the unfortunate circumstance where a loved one or loved ones have passed away, we also help with estate cleanouts and vacating some homes as well. So I grew up in Princeton. I live in Pennington, New Jersey now, with my wife and our 4-year-old son. So this is a famous New Yorker cartoon, One Day Son, All This Would Be Yours. This is kind of how I felt, not for my parents' storage unit actually, but for my parents' garage and also their like basement storage area. I realized that my parents had a storage unit for like 5 years and they spent like over $10,000 to house the items that were in it. And it really wasn't much. It was like 2 or 3 racks of clothing. So one of the things that we try to help clients with is like to reduce their monthly spend, and finding solutions for their items instead of just packing it all up and putting it in storage and really almost never seeing it again until you have to clean out the storage unit. But preventing them from having to spend $250 a month or $2,000 to $3,000 a year on unnecessary storage sometimes. We'll talk quickly about kind of what a move manager is. It's certainly a growing industry and career. It's a combination of a lot of different solutions and services that are done along the journey of downsizing and moving. So the process starts with a free in-home consultation and cost estimate. Through that, in addition to the cost estimate, usually send a proposed timeline. So we're really trying to take this overall and overwhelming process and to break it down into more digestible steps and stages. So we don't try to do everything at once. We try to kind of chip away at the issue at hand and arranging several sessions. That might be a full day session, a half day session, might be 2 consecutive days, might be a couple of days in between, but really kind of getting things going, getting things on track, moving ahead, creating that momentum that is so valuable in this. Because frankly, my parents went through this and they were like also just paralyzed with the contents of their house. They weren't able to take advantage of any of the real estate market forces or really kind of be proactive because they were just kind of stuck with, what do I do with all this stuff in my house? And we help a lot of families who are obviously going through the process of moving to a different house, but we also help a lot of families who want to stay in their own house and age in place. And it's a very similar process to that, but a lot of our families do know where they are moving next, but a lot of our families don't. And we're still able to get the process started. We just create the floor plan at a different stage in the process then. When I say the floor plan, it's essentially a visual representation of where your current furniture will be going in the next house. And that really helps to highlight what can actually physically fit in the new home, and then what becomes kind of the excess possessions, and then where we look to put a plan in place for those excess items, helping to sell and donate as much as possible. So profitable solutions for excess possessions come in a whole host of fashions that might be selling things through auction houses, might be selling things through an in-home estate sale, might be selling things through an online auction, through a local consignment store, maybe selling things online, Facebook Marketplace, Nextdoor, Cherish, various other websites. But really, the first step is identifying what items you have and really kind of what items you want to keep and bring to the next home. And then putting a solution for the things you're keeping, and then putting a solution for the things that you're not keeping. And we usually start with the sorting and decluttering first, after the labeling and kind of identifying of the things. And then usually we're doing the selling next. And then anything that doesn't sell or can't be sold then goes to the next chevron of the more of the donation, for tax donation purposes. Anything that's donated is donated in the client's name, or if it's a loved one who's passed away, in the name of the estate. And then we scan and email the tax donation receipts to you, so you have those for tax season. We also do for things that can't be donated, such as mattresses, bowling balls, car seats, just because of they need to be within 5 years, sleeper sofas, things like that. We also handle the junk removal. Our goal as a company is to keep as much out of landfills as possible, and to be environmentally sustainable as much as we can. So trying to find second lives for items through selling or donation is really kind of our key, and then trying to limit the junk removal. We're usually doing junk removal on site with a small dumpster kind of at the end, after we're kind of exhausted the selling and donation process. Then moving on to the actual packing. So I was mentioning that Justin and David, we've helped a lot of families move across the country. And especially like in the peak of the real estate market was also when like gas prices were like almost $4.50. So that certainly increases the moving cost. So we've been able to find some flexible and cost-effective ways for clients that are moving locally or across the country through like a pod moving containers, which are essentially act as a moving truck there, but they're just a lot more portable. And they also act as a storage unit if need be as well. So we can help with packing. We bring all the moving boxes, the wardrobe boxes to have the hanging clothing hung on the bars so they're not being wrinkled during the move. Packing the artwork, the china, whatever needs to be packed, and then loading that either into the moving truck that we have or into a pod moving container, helping with the move. A lot of clients think that the move is over once all the boxes are in their house. You're really kind of at like you're still in the red zone. You're still certainly at the 10-yard line or so. You will be overwhelmed by the amount of boxes that you have. It's always going to be more than you think. And just the amount of like packing paper and bubble wrap, and supplies that are needed to successfully execute a move where things aren't being broken. It's a lot more than clients usually realize. So one of the very helpful services that we provide, since we're the ones identifying, helping you figure out what you want to keep, creating that floor plan, packing and moving the items, is that we also do the unpacking and the put away process. So that is not just hanging clothes in the closets and setting up your bed. We obviously do that. It's unpacking all the dishware and glasses and setting up your kitchen cabinets, setting up your bathrooms, setting up closets, setting up the mudroom or hallway closet, placing things in maybe the basement for storage, getting all the furniture placed, obviously all the rugs down first, and then also helping to figure out where the artwork and decor goes as well. And then in addition, we also remove all the moving boxes. So you're not having towers of moving boxes kind of 3 months after you moved in. All the things have been unpacked, all the moving boxes taken away, and then you have the space to really kind of move around in your new house and enjoy your new house. Oftentimes we're bringing in like a house cleaner either once or twice during the process. It's usually done before the real estate photography and or after the house is vacant and before the closing date as well. And then, as I said, we also do the estate clean out and helping families with that. And that's really kind of going, oftentimes working with either the family or the estate attorney, figuring out what items might be left in a will, having those packed and or shipped to the beneficiaries, and then figuring out with the family what to do with the remaining items, oftentimes running an estate sale or online auction, selling things through auction houses, and eventually getting the house ready for real estate photos and either having it vacant. And we work in collaboration with your realtor. If the realtor wants the house vacant, we can do that. If the realtor wants some furniture left in to kind of frame the space, we can also do that as well, and then come back once the house is under contract. So this is really an overview of who we help, who refers us, who we kind of interact with. We help families of all ages. So we just helped the family that was 42 years old. They have 3 boys between 6 and 12. We just moved them the past 2 days, did the packing, moving, unpacking. We do have a focus on the 55 plus population. It's a very similar process to those that are 42 years old. It's just a different volume of categories instead of like obviously the younger generation has less paper, I would say, because a lot of their things are or less kind of photo albums as well, but really kind of a similar process. So we service all of New Jersey and the greater Philadelphia area. I'm going up to Basking Ridge this afternoon. We're in Bay Head, New Jersey a couple weeks ago. We're moving someone down to Philadelphia next week. So we can coordinate kind of local and long distance. We interact with a lot of attorneys, realtors, senior living communities, financial advisors and retirement planners, a lot of in-home health aides, social workers, and really kind of anybody that we talk to. This is either going to affect them or their parents or grandparents at some point as well. In terms of our pricing, as I said, we provide a free in-home consultation and cost estimate. I work up a customized quote. I'm usually figuring during that consultation, getting a sense of the volume of items that they're keeping and what they're not keeping, and tailoring the quote to that. Usually our costs, it depends if we're doing the move itself, can be from $1,500 to kind of $5,000 or $6,000, kind of in that general range. But we're oftentimes doing this in stages, so it's not do all at once. We usually kind of, if we do stage 1 of sorting, decluttering, getting the house ready for real estate photos, that would be kind of one cost, and then the move would be this a second cost, and then the final kind of selling, donating, junk removal, vacating the house would be kind of the third cost as well. Important to note that anything that we help clients sell, we don't take a cut or commission. If we bring in an auction house, yes, they have their costs and fees. If there's an in-home estate sale done, the in-home estate sale company would have their commission amount. But we're not taking a cut or commission of anything sold. This is a very helpful resource to a lot of our clients. It's called the National Association of Senior and Specialty Move Managers. Their website is nasm.org. A lot of people have probably heard of NAPO, which is like the Professional Organizers Association. This is very similar to that, but it's more focused on the 55 plus population and senior move managers itself. We are a member company of that. We get our training, insurance, and bonding through them. They're growing a lot, about 15% per year. I think they probably have about 1,500 member companies. So it's a great resource for us so we just helped someone move from West Windsor, New Jersey up to Boston. And we utilized it was a widower. So just one gentleman moving up to a senior living community, and we ended up packing, loading a pod moving container. So my team did the packing and loading in New Jersey, coordinated the pod to be shipped up to Boston. And then I tapped into our NASA network and found a similar company that services Boston and worked with them because they're so in tune with the needs of our clients that they handled the unloading and unpacking there. I shared the floor plan with them, shared the photos of what's going up there, and then they essentially recreated his items into a smaller space, obviously a different layout in a one bedroom apartment in the senior living community. But he slept there that night. Everything was unpacked. All the boxes were removed, and he and his family were very pleased. But now some companies earn certificates in ethics and safety and various other um, uh, areas of focus and knowledge, and really have a strict code of ethics. Confidentiality and privacy are crucial for us. We're obviously in your house, touching jewelry, and sometimes come across coins, and obviously clothing and very high-end items as well. So really kind of working with people who are trusted advisors is certainly key to this process. This really kind of breaks down kind of at what stage we and move managers provide assistance. So a lot of times we hear from clients that they're not ready, we don't know where we're moving yet. That's usually because they're just not able to wrap their head around like how to solve this problem that they have, what to do with all their belongings. So we end up becoming the needed help that they have. Oftentimes they're saying like, where do I even start? So really kind of as I was mentioning, breaking down this process into more digestible bits and pieces is helpful. Creating a plan, creating a deadline, having that be understood by not only the client, but also their adult children, having that be vetted and approved by their realtor in terms of in collaboration with getting the house on the market. Pardon me. And really helping to like unburden the adult children. This certainly becomes a very kind of emotional and family oriented experience. A lot of the adult children want to be able to help their parents more, but they have their careers and raising kids and all the stuff in their day-to-day life that they're just not able to devote the needed time. So that's where we really come in. But a big role that we do play is really the emotionally neutral third party who's not a family member, and really kind of helps give them some guidance of to try to have them make the best decision for them, instead of just being an emotional one, be like, oh, let's just put it all in storage and pay whatever cost it is. So we try to shy them away from doing that. And then really before the real estate photography, as I said, sorting, decluttering, floor plan, making the home look more presentable and more sparse. Clients usually get offers from potential buyers who actually don't step into the inside of the house. So the real estate photos become very important. Obviously, there's all this technology now of virtual staging and all like 3D walkthroughs that you can be in Alaska and trying to buy a house in New Jersey, and you feel like you're in the house with this like 3D technology that you can navigate through the house and all the floors in it. And then really kind of creating and meeting those deadlines, oftentimes bringing in some home repair resources. Might be someone to kind of redo the garage floor or basement or whatever needs to be in conjunction with the realtor's recommendations, helping to provide some local resources as well. And then before the closing date, helping with packing and moving and unpacking, helping to remove leftover items, bringing in the house cleaner service. Sometimes we're actually like bringing the keys to the real estate office. We're also helping to like return cable boxes and Wi-Fi. A lot of times clients kind of forget about that. If they're going from Verizon to Comcast, they have to return the Verizon equipment, and we essentially help take that off their list. And then this is from a great publication called nextavenue.org. It's got a lot of great financial and retirement and kind of living resources. This is an article, Don't Need to Downsize Yet. Great, start now. We really try to have our clients be as proactive as possible. We've had clients that call us and we're like, oh, our house is closing in a week and a half, and We haven't done anything. We've gotten obviously an offer in the house. It's gone through attorney review and everything, but we really need to like get this going. And so then it's really kind of really compresses the amount of time that's available. It does impact the effectiveness of the selling process. Having more time is certainly much more helpful than having less. And really kind of, there's a whole host of challenges involved in every move. They're really broken down into these buckets of emotional, time, physical, and cost. And we really kind of help clients to guide them through all these while preserving the things that they have, but also kind of readjusting their perspective of what they actually need for their next stage in life. So I'll talk through the 10 steps of downsizing. These are things that are usually done in the first stages. It's really kind of evaluating your current home. If what 3 spaces in your home do you dread most and creating the most anxiety? Usually attic, basement, garage, maybe the kitchen, other spaces that are overflowing. These are really kind of the areas that we tackle first in advance of the real estate photography. We always ask if a client has a storage unit as well, because we know we need to tackle that as well. And really kind of having them get a sense of what they actually have. This is an Excel spreadsheet that was actually for my own move when we moved to Pennington, and as the dimensions, the destination of where things are going. This is helpful for a lot of reasons. It going through this process, you would actually realize you're like, wow, I actually have a lot of stuff. But it also helps you to direct where the items are going as we're creating the floor plan. The measurements are helpful in 2 ways, not only for the floor planning process to figure out if the entertainment center or china cabinet, whatever item it might be, if it actually can fit, but then also the measurements are helpful if we are going to sell things. We need to have pictures and measurements of those items, whether we're selling it through an auction house or selling it online on Facebook Marketplace or Nextdoor, things like that. If you post photos of a console table on Facebook Marketplace, you're going to get all these responses being like, oh, how long is it? What is the dimension? So it just makes it a lot easier to have that information at hand. So inventorying is not only for the furniture, it's also household items. We helped a married couple who had, I think it was like 220 combined hangers of clothing, and they were moving into a smaller space that could only fit 110. So their closet was half the size. So we, as part of our floor planning, oftentimes we're going to the next home and actually like measuring the width of the closet rod and then bringing that back to their current home and like putting a piece of blue painter's tape and be like, this is the width of your future closet and you need to get down to that. And that's not us telling them what clothing they can bring. That's us allowing them to have the independence to make the decisions of what items they want to bring, but within the framework of how much can actually be brought to the next home. Oftentimes, if it's an older couple and they're maybe moving to a place that maybe is a 55 plus community, we're asking questions of, do you guys cook meals anymore? How many times per week? How many people are you cooking for? Are you hosting holidays? What type of food are you cooking? Like essentially narrowing our questioning down to like, do you need all these pots and pans? Can we go and help you to sell a lot of them? Do you need all this entertaining and holiday decorations and settings, place settings for 12 people? Like if you're not, do you need all that if you're not going to be hosting holidays anymore? Things like that to really kind of reduce their moving bill as part of that. As I said, this goes down to pots and pans and hangers, and really kind of going to the next house. the house that you're moving into, people, what happens is when they're doing a real estate search, they visit all these houses and they all, regardless of age, end up like blending in together. And they're like, oh, is this the one that where the master bedroom has a walk-in closet, or does it not? Is there like overhead lighting in the living room, which helps to determine how many like lamps, either floor or table lamps you need, like as part of this and visiting the future home. We always have clients take photos, but also take videos as well, to actually bring a tape measure. So you'll get a lot of the measurements from the actual like real estate listing, but a lot are just kind of basic measurements and don't have certain walls that you might input some sort of kind of console table on and you don't know how wide it is. So really kind of having the information and the measurements is very helpful. Also, floor plans don't show where like the air conditioning or HVAC, there are any overhangs or light switches, where those are located, like where the TV outlet is. These are important things to know. So like the photos and videos would capture all that information. This is an example of a floor plan, family in Alpine, New Jersey. We moved to a continued care retirement community, but in one of the independent living, I think it was a 3-bedroom like villa cottage that has a garage. So we took their current furniture and kind of placed it visually to help them determine kind of what they're keeping, how it will look, and really kind of helps them to make the decisions of what they're keeping. It really, the goal is to delicately have them be ruthless with their decision making in terms of what is important, what they actually need at the next place. As I said, the measurements are very crucial. They really help to reduce the emotional attachment of items, and trying to have them make those hard decisions now instead of having them pay to have it packed and moved, unpacked over there, and then it doesn't fit and then causes some issues. This is an example. We helped a family. I think they live in like a 5-bedroom home in Florida. They moved up to brand new one, assisted living in Livingston, New Jersey. Apparently, the client has had some sort of like kind of early onset dementia. She actually worked with some sort of professional organizer down in Florida, but I think she was just very kind of stubborn. And what ended up happening, she moved into a 600 square foot 1-bedroom from Florida. And there were 160 moving boxes, which is far too many. The boxes by the moving company arrived on like a Tuesday. She was arriving on Thursday, and like her children live in the area, so that's why she's moving up there. But the executive director of the community declared it unlivable because there's just far too much in there. What happened was, I think they paid like $17,000 to the moving company to move all this up there. Then I got the call from the community being like, we need your help. Luckily, there was like a 1-bedroom, like 2 doors down on the same floor. We literally took everything out of the apartment, brought it to the empty apartment, went through it with her and her kids, and then put back a more appropriate amount of stuff in. And then we ended up having to donate almost like, I think it was like a 26-foot truck worth of stuff to Salvation Army and Goodwill. One donation place wouldn't take it all. So not only did she pay too much with moving because she wasn't able to get rid of things, she then had to pay my company to deal with the excess. And it just created a very chaotic and stressful transition for her as she's moving from Florida up to New Jersey and into her new place. But the end result was she was able to sleep there. We got all of her, a lot of her clothing hung. I mean, she brought like pots and pans, and she was moving into assisted living, which doesn't have a stove. It has this little kitchenette, like the photo on the left. You can kind of see the top of the cabinets, and really kind of taking the time and allowing yourself enough time to go through and figure out what you what is appropriate to keep and move is really critical in this process. And then the sorting of things, really kind of an opportunity to evaluate your things. We have a lot of clients who use like a yellow legal pad and create like a list of things I love in one column, things I need and things I don't need. That really kind of helps them frame the things that they want. Clients' first impulse is usually the right one. If I ask, "Oh, are you keeping this?" and they're like, and then they usually talk themselves into keeping it. So we try to have them go with their first impulse. A lot of times, like, people have clothing that is of certain sizes that they might not fit anymore. They either might be too small or too big. And we're having clients like try on a bunch of their clothing to see if it fits and really kind of help them winnow down what they have in terms of the things that they actually want. There's like a famous quote that people wear 20% of their clothing 80% of the time. So you don't need all the things in your closet. You need certainly a lot of it, but you're usually wearing only about 20% of your entire wardrobe. And then really kind of drilling down for gentlemen, it's oftentimes a lot of our clients are retired and they have many suits and jackets and things, French cuff dress shirts that might be difficult if they have maybe arthritis in their hands, might not be really appropriate for them anymore. And then for women, like, they might have purses and high heels and shoes that they've just kind of hung on to, but they're really not appropriate or like comfortable anymore, and might not suit their lifestyle. So an opportunity to review those items. Our day job is pretty ever changing, I would say. I enjoy that we're on our feet and kind of getting a good workout and helping a lot of people, but also like away from a desk. And like we come across some pretty fun and cool things sometimes. We helped a family in Lawrenceville, New Jersey, where the mom had already moved to assisted living in San Francisco to be closer to the sun. And we were doing a clean out of the home and ran an online auction to sell a lot of things. But as we were sorting through, we found like 6 silver brick bars, like throughout the house, also in like random places. We found like 2 of them underneath the master bedroom dresser. We found, I think, a couple in the second floor hallway linen closet, like wrapped in towels at the bottom, like on the floor. And each of these are like worth $2,000. So we found all 6. I gave the son a call and he was like, oh, this is great. Like, oh, I should have told you about that. Like we thought there was some in there. And I was like, okay. So we brought it to like a coin and gem company who then wrote a check for $12,000 and sent it to San Francisco to the son. But we found deeds to houses, titles to cars. We found a long lost engagement ring for a client in their junk drawer. We all have one. Mine is in my kitchen, like a lot of other people's, but it was the grandmother's wedding ring, and it had like somehow gotten into the junk drawer and like just whittled its way to the back of it. So when we were cleaning out the junk drawer, we found it and showed the family, and they were like ecstatic because they've been looking for it. We helped a client who had all these file cabinets in the basement and that had been there for decades, and we like moved the file cabinet away from the wall. And we heard this like rustling of these papers, and it ended up being like a bunch of Series E bonds that I think matured in like 1989. This was like 2015. So they brought it to the bank and we got a nice little financial windfall, which is helpful. But we've come across like original Atari sets and like Nintendos and various things. But a lot of our clients struggle with family photos. And what ends up happening is that they're really not able to focus on it So oftentimes they move it and then kind of take care of it. But the issue is family albums are heavy. They're usually in a large quantity, and they take up a lot of storage space in closets in the new smaller home. So we give them some resources. There's a number of companies shown here, but they're able to actually digitize photos into something you can watch like on your iPhone or iPad. It's also where you can digitize it, and that people can then create those like Shutterfly calendars and photo books, things like that. But really, like, clients have a lot of VHS tapes, they have a lot of DVDs, they've some of like 8mm and slides, and really kind of digitizing that so you don't have to, so you have the item more of a different format, but you don't have to schlep those heavy boxes to various places. And then really kind of continuing on sorting, trying to have the adult children remove all their items early on in the process helps to, I would say, delicately remove some excuses that some of our clients have. We've had clients be like, oh, I can't start yet. Like, all my kids' stuff are still here. So if we get the kids to come in and remove their things, it kind of helps to move things along. Oftentimes it's delicate in terms of like who's getting what. We haven't really had any like contentious issues, but we do see sometimes that our clients sometimes are a little disappointed in terms of like that their kids don't want all their stuff, which is obviously understandable, because oftentimes the kids' homes are full of their own stuff and just a different style of things that they want. But really being proactive, kind of having that conversation with the children and the family and friends and neighbors as well to see who wants what is really kind of helpful before things get going. It can be done at whatever point, but it's helpful if it's done kind of earlier on in the process. But, and really like trying not to take it personally if like your daughter doesn't want her whatever it might be from her bedroom, something that's that the mom or the dad has an emotional attachment to, but the kids don't. So just kind of setting yourself up there. And really kind of talking about this step 7, the selling process. I'm usually giving a lot of guidance during that free consultation walkthrough. I can get a sense of the volume of the items that they're not keeping, so the things that they want to sell, and then seeing kind of the condition of the items, the potential like current market value of those items, and really kind of proposing some options of what's the best course of action to go ahead with, whether it's, and sometimes it's a combination of a couple. We've had higher value items might be sold maybe through an auction house, or and then the rest through like an estate sale or online auction. It takes forever to sell individual things that comprise an entire household on like Facebook Marketplace. So yes, you can sell a lot there, but it's not going to be the whole house. It's going to be kind of one-off things, and you need enough time to do that. So we found the most efficient way and kind of a bulk process is to sell things through like an estate sale or an online auction. And I'll talk about the difference between those options in a moment. We're not personal property appraisers, but we can bring in appraisers to look at certain things, whether they're artwork, jewelry, furniture, rugs, mementos, things like that. And then if we're having an appraiser in, or if we're having an auction house in, it's a contract between the appraiser and the client, or the auction house and the client actually. So the client will pay those, kind of call it outsized services directly. Many of you have probably been to an in-home estate sale. They're usually done inside the house. So They're usually done on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, so kind of 2 or 3 consecutive days, depending how much there is to sell. It's run by an estate sale company. They usually take 35% commission, and the remainder goes to the family. The advantage is things are pre-priced. There is a floor and reserve pricing. So if something is marked for $500, the estate sale company is not going to sell it for like 150. There is like kind of a built-in floor pricing. Gives an opportunity for buyers to actually like in person inspect the condition of items. They can touch it and hold it. And signature items help to bring a draw from an advertising perspective. Oftentimes, like obviously they're advertised in estatesales.net, which is a leading website, kind of manages all the local sales, and then advertise in local papers and online and various lawn signs and things like that. Sometimes things might be deemed kind of expensive. There's usually not a whole lot of negotiation and bidding done. Usually things that don't sell the first 2 days, usually the price is reduced for the third day, but not like drastically. I would say the disadvantage is they are intrusive. The estate sale company does want the homeowners to not be present during the estate sale, and it's usually kind of 9 to 4 or 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. There's no like efficient way to really track the sale progress in real time. Yes, the estate sale company would know kind of what's been sold, they're marking things, and then the buyer of the items is required to remove those items. Sometimes there's some like local moving to the buyer's house for a small fee. I would say there's usually kind of a lot of, there's many small things left over, whether it's sold through an estate sale or an online auction. The reality is like the big armoires, a lot of the kind of dark brown China hutch cabinets, big entertainment centers that have the doors that open and then the TV that comes out. Those are kind of for a different era. Those are usually the things that don't sell or sell for less than the clients expect. It's just the reality of the market. The people that have those items are the people that are trying to sell them and get rid of them. And the next generation people have a different way of kind of furnishing their house. It's more, instead of the TVs being in an entertainment center, entertainment unit, they're now mounted on the walls and things like that. So you don't need these big kind of massive furniture pieces. We'll talk quickly about the online auction process. So that we use a company called maxsold.com. Their photo on the left. It's a alternative to an in-home estate sale. It's done in a different manner where in-home estate sale people park in your driveway or on the street and come into the house. Instead, everything is with an online auction. Things are photographed, measured, described, and run entirely online. So there's essentially this like photo album kind of sale done through Maxsold for all your items. And then each item or each kind of grouping of items is sold in called a lot. And then everything starts at 0. So all the lots start at 0. And then each of the lots during the kind of 7 to 10 day process are bid up. And then whoever has the highest bid for that lot at the end of the auction wins that lot. And then there's a 1-day pickup. It's usually on a Saturday or Sunday with people working. And it's managed by the online auction company. And people are given time slots to arrive at the house. So everybody's not arriving at the same time. So if there's a China cabinet with all this like Waterford crystal in it, the Waterford crystal buyers would come first and remove those items. And then the person who bought the China cabinet would remove it. So people were coming in a staggered fashion. There's an administrative fee for the online auction. and then they take 30% commission. They're usually selling like 80 to 95% of the items being sold. We just had one that sold like 99.4%. So it's a very effective and comprehensive way to sell a lot of mid-value and low-value items all at once and to have them removed from the house. There's no shipping as part of this, so the buyers need to come and remove the items. There's been some instances where a buyer bids $100, whatever it might be, and then either doesn't show up to pick up the item, but they still have, the client has still received the money. So if they don't show up, you still have the money. You just now need to deal with the thing that was not picked up. But it's helpful in that everything is transparent, and you can actually view the bids in real time when you go to the website and see kind of where the bids are coming in at, what items might not have any bids, and things like that. And you can also take the link and post it on Nextdoor and Facebook and various others, send it to friends to get more eyeballs looking at it. And then talking about selling a bit more, there's the consignment option. There's in-store consignment with an actual physical retail footprint. And then there's online consignment. There are various kind of commissions. Usually the in-store consignment is a 50-50 commission split. The online consignment, we work a lot with, it's called the Real Real. They actually went IPO, I think about 2 years ago. And the more that you sell there, the higher the commission you receive. And the higher the item that's sold, the higher the commission as well. So it's kind of this varied commission structure, which is helpful. So some options that are there. And then online selling is something that we do help clients with. We don't do a lot of it. Oftentimes, like the adult children or maybe even the grandkids might do it themselves. We don't want to like have it be if you're selling something for $30, like we really don't need to be involved. That's probably something that like it's just might be a negative transaction for you. But there's Amazon, there's Facebook Marketplace, there's Nextdoor, there's Letgo, eBay, Cherish, First Dibs. I just mentioned this is actually from the Princeton Police Department. They have this parking sign that says online purchase safe exchange zone, where if a client is doing online selling, it's recommended to meet in a public place with security cameras. That's the police department is a helpful place for that. But even like stepping into a McDonald's, things like that, don't do it in a parking lot. It's usually helpful if you don't do it at your house, or if you do, if it's like a bigger item, to have a friend or family member there with you, and then compare this potential sale price versus your time and that you're investing in it. You can get a sense of what things are selling for to kind of price it yourself by just searching on these websites for like, let's say, do like a set of golf clubs or like a basketball, whatever it might be. You can look what other people are trying to sell those items for and try to be competitive with that. And then just 2 more slides. So just talking about donation. Donation is certainly a big component of our job. We like to have things go to the second homes and people in need. So when we're cleaning out a kitchen, especially in an estate clean out situation, we're checking the expiration dates of items. It might be the canned goods, it might be pasta, cereal, whatever it might be. And if it's still current, we bring it to a local food bank, which we get a lot of pride in doing that. But there's also a lot of organizations that we work with and bring things to. There's some services that provide free pickup. They usually have a maximum of the size of the items, but also the quantity. So like Vietnam Vets is one that a lot of people know. That's a free service. They have a truck, but they have one driver who's also the person like picking up the item. So if you're moving like a big china cabinet, I mean, you need more than one person for that. So like that would be too big for them, but like smaller things certainly are available. But then there's a whole host of other things like Goodwill. We found to be they accept the most categories of items. Salvation Army, Homefront, which is an organization in Trenton, New Jersey, helps a lot of families break the cycle of poverty. Helps provide furniture and household goods for their like new apartment. These apartments are not all that big, so like a 3-seater sofa is too big for them. A king bed is too big, but certainly kind of side tables, things, lamps, things like that. And then the Father Center of New Jersey, I call it like the male version of Dress for Success, where we bring a lot of business suits and clothes and ties and dress shoes and belts and things like that to them. Helps them for people that are re-entering the workforce and need some more kind of interview appropriate clothing. And then
And John, real quick for you,
yeah,
because we're coming up on the hour here, so I want to make sure
okay,
to get all of the info here.
sure,
And so I know you've got places to be. Thank you for being so generous with your time.
okay,
But I want to make sure, yeah, I know you had one slide left in terms of a step 10. If we could just show that quickly so we don't leave the attendees on
sure,
the edge of their seats here,
yeah,
looking at recycling and dispersal. So obviously being eco-friendly as much as possible, trying to make sure that things that don't get donated or can be sold, that they get sustainably discarded in a way that's going to be the best possible for the environment.
yeah, absolutely. And I mentioned that the scrapyard, people have a lot more metal in their house than they think, and we don't like it going in dumpsters. So oftentimes we bring it to a scrapyard. They pay cash, we get the receipt, and bring it back to the client. But this is the final slide, just an overview of there's our truck and our contact information. So happy to answer any questions that you guys have.
Awesome. Thanks, John. I did not see any questions come in, but I do want to throw it over to David real quick, who's going to give us a teaser into the upcoming webinars that we're having, actually some in person as well. So David, take it away.
All right, thanks, Justin. And as I'm speaking here, please feel free to throw a question in the question and answer. We'll circle back on that before we close up. So we do have a couple of events coming up, a couple of webinars. Our next webinar is going to be scheduled for May 10th. That's a Wednesday, but it is 1 week later than we normally hold them. Usually our webinars on the first Wednesday of the month. This will be the second Wednesday of the month. And we're going to talk about the state of the real estate market. We have 3 guests attending, a real estate agent, a real estate appraiser, and a mortgage lender. And we're going to have a discussion about what's happening in the real estate market when interest rates are rising and inventories are at a minimum. Very, really interesting time right now in real estate, given what's going on in the economy. The following month, on June 7th, we're going to run a session on to Roth or not to Roth. And in that discussion, we're going to talk about how do you choose, if you're contributing to a plan, whether you should be using a traditional IRA or traditional 401k plan, or you should be looking at a Roth version of the same. For those who do have the accounts, when is the ideal time to convert into a Roth IRA, if that's going to be appropriate? And we'll also look at some of the latest tax law changes that have occurred in the last year, and speak about how to capitalize on those tax laws for our clients. Before all that, we will have an in-person symposium that we're hosting on April 29th, targeting young physicians and young physicians in practice, where we're going to talk about how to build the foundation for those young physicians from a financial standpoint. We'll cover topics such as contract negotiations for that first job, covering malpractice insurance and what that covers and how to obtain the right type of coverage. Again, we'll talk about mortgages and how does a young doctor coming out of medical school qualify for a mortgage when the student loan debt they oftentimes carry is actually bigger than the mortgage they're applying for. And of course, Justin, as our resident expert on student loans, will speak about how to manage that debt. And in particular, again, physicians oftentimes coming out of training have more student loans than any other occupation. Justin will talk about how to work your way out of that kind of debt. So Justin, I'll turn it back over to you. And that symposium, by the way, is April 29th. It may not be appropriate for the people who are on this webinar. We're kind of a very different audience between this webinar and that symposium, but oftentimes there are people in our lives, children, relatives, friends, neighbors, whoever that might be appropriate. That symposium is at no cost for the attendees, and we will have a panel of speakers available to them. So it's a really nice program. They get a free meal out of it. So for those who are worried about where their next meal will come from, at least they know they'll have one good meal during their residency or post-residency time. Thank you very much, Justin.
Yeah, thank you, David, for letting us know all of that. John, any final from you before we close it up today?
Appreciate the opportunity. If we can be of any assistance to anyone or at least a sounding board, happy to answer any questions.